Matt Walsh and him confronting a trans TikTok influencer and kind of saying some rough things.
What's the right approach? Should you be more aggressive and blunt, or should you be more gentle? And it's like, well, it depends on the situation.
Ruslan.
Winning the war against the LGTV, or specifically the T. And this is some backlash that was caused with regards to Matt Walsh and him confronting a trans TikTok influencer and kind of saying some rough things. And it's this concept of how and when we talk about things we disagree with. There are going to be certain folks that if you say you're not affirming of all their choices and who they feel they are and every desire they have, then you're a bigot. Those people are there. I've talked about these things. I've had friends, folks I'm friendly with, tell me that my videos are dehumanizing or that I'm fringe because I'm pro-life. I literally had a close friend tell me that. I'm fringe because I believe terminating babies is murder. But I do think it's funny that, not funny, but I do think it's interesting when folks who are believers, followers of Jesus, or profess to be, engage with some of these things in the way they engage with some of these things, right? Specifically, Matt Walsh's kind of rant and this entire thing that he did against the Dylan guy. Okay, so I wanted to play this for you guys because this is Matt Walsh, Michael Knowles, on Pints with Acquaintances. Now, I have a few Catholics that I keep up with just because I like to hear from good sources and not like hearsay from lay sources. And Pints with Acquaintances is a dope channel. Okay, I like his videos. I like his perspective on things. He does really well in terms of some of this culture war conversations. And so I was like, oh, that's dope. Matt Walsh and Michael Knowles are both on there. I want to hear this conversation and kind of add some of my 2 cents to this. Okay, let's check this out. You guys think it's interesting. So I think they're talking about the What Is a Woman documentary.
We had something special, but I didn't expect it to.
Which by the way, by and large, I think it's a huge net positive. Platform the people that are detransitioning. Platform the people that regret their decisions. Give them a voice. LGTV community, give them a voice. Right? Don't act like they don't exist. I think that overall is a huge net positive. I think in the way it was done, executed very well.
And there was also the question of, because it's a Daily Wire, it's behind it's a subscriber content. And so,
were you hoping it wouldn't be? Was there a part of you that thought, let's just?
Well, it's an interesting thing. I had a conversation with the guy Jeremy Boring about many conversations about like the film, of course, and how we're going to distribute it. And he actually said to me, this is what he actually said. He said, I said, well, are we limiting the number of people who can see it if we don't release it? And he said, well, he said, at the time we had 600,000 subscribers. He said, well, who says that we couldn't get, say, 300,000 more people to subscribe just to watch this? Yeah.
By the way, I think they ended up going from 300,000 subs to 1 million Daily Wire users, which is pretty amazing.
And then that actually, in the first month, we had literally 300,000 people subscribed to watch it, which is what he said.
So that's
which is crazy.
That's insane.
Now, I'm no mathematician. 50% increase on the total number of subscribers instantly. And the thing is,
You went to Yale.
Listen, fellas. I took AP Calculus, all right, in high school. When that came out, that was a long time ago now. It's still changing laws. It's still happening. I mean, all over the country, this is still happening.
Praise God.
Yeah.
I'm sure you probably couldn't fully anticipate the pushback you'd get from people. Maybe you in a general way, you could probably envision it, but I have no idea what it's been like having these individual attacks coming at you. But do you kind of see this as kind of the Lord's will for you to fight this fight?
I think so, yeah.
Is it the Lord's will for Matt Walsh to fight this fight? Now, again, these gentlemen are Catholic, okay? And so is it God's will for Matt Walsh to fight this fight? I think the documentary is a huge net positive, yes. But as we get and peel away some of these layers, it gets a bit interesting. Again, I'll reserve my thoughts till the end.
For sure.
And then you kind of take the crosses when they come.
A lot of people don't. I mean, there are a lot of security-related things that I can't even talk about publicly just because it's better to handle privately. But people don't understand these trans activists, just how vicious and bloodthirsty they are. People don't really understand that until you are in their crosshairs, because they, the way they look at it is if you're questioning the transgender ideology, it's like you're questioning their very existence.
Yeah, and that's bad. And I think I had Dr. Michael Brown on. He talked about that there's a distinguishment between the activist and the people. There's someone at my gym that's a part of this community, and oddly enough, they are a biologically born male. And I was like, oh, this is going to be interesting. I literally thought, I wonder which bathroom they use. And sure enough, they were in the men's bathroom, which I was like, oh, okay, cool. you know? So I think there's a difference between the activist and the radicalized voices versus the everyday to day person that's, you know, dealing with gender dysphoria and trying to figure it out.
They use the word genocidal. Right. There was a trans activist that just this week was talking about how there's a genocide of, it's a viral tweet about there's a genocide of trans people, and then he listed all these laws that are being passed. And you hear genocidal, you think, well, that's hyperbole. Of course it is, but in their minds, they really think that this is an actual genocide.
This is a sickness
of the highest order.
That's that ain't it. That ain't it. You're not there's no. We're not trying to do that. This that whole words of violence and therefore we can respond with violence thing. This is right. This is that sort of distorted reality thinking.
So also in their minds, they're justified in any response whatsoever. And if that means attacking you, if that means coming after your kids and your family, that's all on the table. And so, you know, I knew that going in that would be their response, but once you're in the thick of it, it's a different
You picked a fight. I mean, I'm not sure exactly what, I actually, unfortunately, am aware of what we're allowed to say on YouTube, so I'll choose my words carefully so I don't shut down your stream.
That's okay.
You are picking a fight with people who don't quite have it all together up there, let's say. I mean, or probably the most visibly not having it all together up there, people on planet Earth, and you're saying, hey, you guys, what you're doing, that isn't right, and your vision of the world is totally wrong. So you're going to get blowback unlike anyone else.
It seemed to me what you were doing, though, is that you were going after the activists, those who should know better, those who know that they're lying.
Right.
But I sensed a lot of compassion in that video towards those who are suffering.
And that was, I think, a W of the movie, is that it really did humanize people that have gone through that and then the consequences of it, which, again, that doesn't get platformed.
It wasn't like you were going after the suffering and being like, you're bloody mental.
Yeah, that's part.
Rather, you're going after university professors.
That's part of the conversation too. Is people? There's always this debate about how should you approach this issue or any issue. What's the right approach? Should you be more aggressive and blunt, or should you be more gentle? And it's like, well, it depends on the situation, right? It's not. We have to get away from this idea that we have to have one agreed upon approach, and every other approach is automatically wrong. So, if I'm on a cultural level, if we're just talking to the culture, then I think to be blunt and more aggressive is the right approach. If you're talking individually to someone who's actually struggling with this, who has is confused, then yeah, on an individual level, you're going to be more gentle. I mean,
that person in the show.
I totally agree with him, except the way he came after Dylan Mulvaney. I'm not going to play the video because it was pretty wild, right? But Dylan Mulvaney does this thing on TikTok where it's like day 365 of girlhood, and it's kind of all these like cliche cringe things. Honestly, creates a caricature of women, in my opinion. I cried 3 times today. I did this, like, right. And so I think there's a time and a place to address the spirit and the ideology behind something. But when you're talking to individual people, I think there needs to be, in my opinion, I think we need to be a bit more gentle when we're addressing individual people. And so I was taken aback when Matt went so hard at an individual person. And yes, the fact that Dylan is now sitting down with the president of the United States, man, that's crazy. Like, that's crazy that's where we are. But as a Christian, as a follower of Jesus, and again, he's a Catholic. I think he identifies with the title Christian. I don't know where he is in his personal life, but as a Christian, it says that we will give an account for our words. It says that we will, let all your speech be seasoned with grace and mercy and kindness, right? Let us be kind. So even if I'm dealing with someone that's off the rails and insane and doing goofy stuff, that doesn't mean I should speak to them in a dehumanizing way, right? That doesn't mean I should speak to them. Now, if they're doing weirdo things, I think it's fair to call it out with Leela Thompson and her, I don't know, his girlfriend, I don't know, whoever they're with, they went and like got their testicles removed and put them in a jar, and there was this whole thing. Yeah, like I looked at that and I was like, that's crazy. You put that on Instagram, fair game to react to that. But when this is someone just doing their thing and then you're going after him the way he went after Dylan, as a Christian, if you're not a Christian, that's different. And so it's like the Daily Wire will have stuff that's very culture war-ish, and some of it is spot on. Some of it is necessary. However, we will give an account for our words. We will give an account how we speak to people, especially people who aren't all the way there, if you know what I'm talking about. Right? Imagine if we believe I say it as a joke, but kind of not. If we
This
believe,
is a sickness.
right?
The
If we
highest
believe
order.
that, think about that. Would we treat someone who was going through a mental episode the same way? Someone that was psychotic, someone that, right? Would we speak to them the same way that Matt Walsh spoke to Dylan? Would that be, I'm not going to use the word empathetic, but would that affirm the Imago Dei in them? That's the part where I think Daily Wire falls short. And though I think God has used the What is a Woman documentary, but Michael Knowles and Matt Walsh on some of this stuff is like, wait a minute, are you operating as a conservative, fighting the good fight as a culture war warrior? Or are you operating as a Christian, as a follower of Jesus, and speaking out of the overflow of your heart? That's the tension that I think they live in. That I think is hard to justify some of the stuff that's said oftentimes to people who are very confused and are hurting. Hey, you want to see something crazy? 67% of the people who watch this channel are not subscribed. Do me a quick favor, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you stay up to date on all the videos here on the Blessed God Studios channel.
Forgive me, I actually forget, was it a man or a woman? And this person regretted transitioning on your show, on the...
Yeah, that was, we had a few of them, but you're probably talking about Scott Nugent.
Yes.
Who's a woman transitioned to a man.
Okay.
And is now
Bless her.
part of this movement she's going to state and advocating for laws banning trans and kids anyway.
Which is a
That's the
W.
takeaway. Like, people I know who watch it, they love it. And those who are really afraid that it was going to be overly critical and those who are hurting, well, like, it wasn't like that at all. In fact, I saw some response videos to What is a Woman from people who are bashing it and actually saying,
That's an L.
I haven't watched it. I'm like, why would you even
That's a L. Don't you be making response videos to something you've never even watched.
admit that? Just...
Yeah, and that's the thing. Once you talk to the people that have been caught up in this, and that, Scott Nugent,
So, sorry, Scott is a woman?
is a woman
Okay.
who transitioned to a man later in life, not as a kid.
But since she can't become a man, she's a woman who goes by Scott.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Could say Scotty.
She says in the film, I'm a woman who got a surgery to appear like a man, but I will never be a man. But that whole, and I think it's the most powerful part of the film is that interview with her. But the whole interview, because I talked to her for at least an hour, and it was we left. It was even more intense in person than it comes across in the film. But this is someone whose whole life is just destroyed. And she also talks about how she, what the surgeons did to her is going to kill her eventually. She's not going to live. She's probably not going to live to be, 85 years old.
Yeah, that's something that doesn't get said very often.
Right. And once you talk to the people or the detransitioners, once you talk to them and you see just how horrific this is, like it becomes easier to take a more aggressive approach.
Withstand the blows of the pushback.
I got a call from, I won't say who, but from a prominent conservative about you. I'm fielding calls about you now because you went after Dylan Mulvaney in this very, direct and blunt, and some have said aggressive way. And this person was really calling sincerely and saying, "What should I think about this? Was he too mean, or was
you won't say who this was?
Maybe I'll say
tell me
privately,
off
but no, I won't say publicly. And he was sincerely asking because I think he was sympathetic to your view, but he heard blowback too. And my answer was kind of like the answer you just gave, which is, it's kind of like when you have a debate. If you have a debate with someone over a cup of coffee or a drink or something, then the purpose of that debate is to persuade that person and to take a mile in their shoes. But if you're having a public debate,
It's not about them.
it's not about them. It's about persuading the audience, and so that's a very different.
And it also is.
And so he's totally right. He's totally right. The question is the way Matt talked about Dylan persuasive? Is he persuading anyone, or is he just polarizing people more? That would be my question. I think What is a Woman, the documentary, is persuasive, yeah, but not all of Matt Walsh's content is that. Not every dunk on the libs, they're stupid, bad, without looking at the full picture.
And there is something to be said for rallying and emboldening your own, your audience that have actually come to listen to it. So I think one of the
Rallying and emboldening your own audience. So then aren't we just doing the same thing they do? If the narrative is the other side hates you and wants you dead, that's literally we just acknowledged that was the narrative. They believe that society and these new laws being passed is genocidal. And the narrative from the Daily Wire is the left hates you and wants to see you dead. Genocidal. It's like the Spider-Man meme. You know what I'm talking about? The Spider-Man, we were just pointing back at each other and it's like, it's you, right? Isn't that just the same thing? And so then we're just going to be more enraged in our own little echo chamber instead of trying to have dialogue and find common ground. I mean, let's really think about it. Like, because when I speak to people from this community, I think there's a huge difference between the person who's the activist than the regular person. I think the regular person doesn't want my kids being taught about this stuff from the LGBT. I don't think they want this stuff in schools. I think it's the activist. And so we have to be careful when we're distinguishing the activist from the human, from the regular day-to-day person who's supposed to be left alone.
One of the reasons why we've gotten to this point on the gender issue in particular is that people who know better, which is most people, are cowed into silence. They're afraid. They're, they don't know if it's okay to speak up and say out loud what they know to be true. And so,
yeah, Lex, I hear you. It is working. The question is how something is done is just as important on is it working? How matters to God. See, that's pragmaticism. That's like saying, well, Joel Osteen is doing is working, so God got to be in it. No. What Beyonce is doing is working. God got to be in it. She's doing arenas. No. I don't care how many people watch something. As a follower of Jesus, how something is done and what you're doing is just as important as why you're doing it and what you're doing. How. The how matters as a Christian. Yes, the way to grow the biggest platform on YouTube is just dunk on the other side. For sure. But if that's all your content is just dunking on the other side, look at them. They're stupid. They're dumb. Ha ha ha. They're stupid. They're dumb. They're dumb. Right? So yes, you can fight the good fight and you can have great policies, but you start, right? Here's an example. It's like the folks who are pro-life that have birthing centers and women's resource centers and pregnancy resource centers and 4D sonograms and all these things, right? Which is great. And again, I'm just trying to make a point. I'm not saying I'm not using that as daily wire mileage, but it's like those folks versus the folks that stand in front of the termination clinics and just yell at the people and then splat red paint on them. Yeah, both are effective, right? So are we verbally just splatting red paint on people and telling people they're dumb and they're stupid and they're murderers? You idiot, blah, right? Or are we actually looking to engage and provide alternatives and meet the needs and so on and so forth? I'm using that as a parallel, right? I'm using that as a parallel. I'm not saying that that's necessarily what he's doing. But in that conversation with Dylan or whatever the video he made, I don't think that was a W.
A big part of the strategy is to speak to those people and say, no, it is okay.
Yeah.
Everything you think about Dylan Mulvaney that you think in your head
and you say
is
your
true,
friends. Yeah.
and you're allowed to say it out loud. Here, watch me, I'll do it.
The problem for Dylan Mulvaney, though, where I have some sympathy for him, empathy.
Now watch what Michael says here. I think Michael has the best take here, and I actually went and watched his entire video.
I believe that the way that actors are trained today, the way that 100% of actors are trained, is based on Freud and Stanislavski and a kind of new school of acting that really, really messes with your head and is very different from an old school of acting.
I'm so glad that less and less people have to go into acting, right? I'm so glad.
Think of like Streetcar Named
because the acting today is you're trying to embody the character's state of mind, feelings, emotions, so on and so forth. I've taken a couple like improv classes in college as electives. It's not lit. Like when you're crying in something, you're literally trying to go to that dark place inside of you and rev up that emotion that makes you cry and project that emotionally. That's dark.
Desire. You got two schools of acting totally on display here. You've got Marlon Brando, he's the new school, well, he just kind of mumbles and goes like this, and it's very naturalistic. And Vivian Leigh, who's the old school, which is more mannered and representational and a little less psychologically affecting. And I just wonder if he is so in the thrall of this ideology because Freud and the artistic movement that came after him really just messed with this guy's head. Like, I think he's probably sincere. I don't think he's just joking. He just happens to be totally wrong.
Now, I haven't.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's a W take. He's sincere. He's not joking. He's just wrong. How do we engage with those folks? Do we call them names? Tell them how they're ugly and how they'll never be attractive and they got nothing. As a Christian, it's the world. You can do what you want. I'm not holding, Chris Rock to the standards of Michael Knowles and Matt Walsh, who repeatedly profess to be Christians and then go on Joe Rogan and try to argue these points, right? It's different. All I'm saying is the how matters to God. You guys can disagree with that. It is what it is. Hey, this clip is from our daily after party stream. If you enjoyed it, consider signing up for our Patreon community for only $5 a month, where you get access to the replays of our daily after party streams, as well as the uncut extended versions of our podcast. Discord access that's private, and a discount code for our merch store, only $5 a month. And ultimately, it's the best way to help us contextualize the gospel of Jesus using media, podcasting, and of course, YouTube. The link for that is in the description or in the pinned comment. The perks are amazing. You should get on there. It's only $5 a month. I'll see you over there, all right? Peace.